The haunting of Willow Creek Manor. In the autumn of 1960, nestled deep within the mist-shrouded forests of New England, stood an imposing structure known as Willow Creek Manor. Its Gothic architecture loomed ominously against the backdrop of twisted trees, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance in the moonlight. The manor had been abandoned for decades, its once grand halls now filled with cobwebs and decay. Legend had it that the original owners, the Van der Lindens, had been driven mad by the spirits that roamed its halls, and had disappeared without a trace. Despite the warnings of locals, a group of adventurous teenagers decided to spend the night within the haunted walls of Willow Creek Manor. Among them were Sarah, a fearless tomboy with a penchant for adventure, and her best friend, Tommy, a skeptical yet curious young man. As they stepped through the rusted gates and into the overgrown courtyard, a chill ran down Sarah's spine. The air seemed to grow colder with each step they took, and the once lively chirping of crickets fell silent as they approached the entrance. Pushing open the creaking doors, they were greeted by the musty smell of decay and the sound of their own footsteps echoing through the empty halls. Sarah shivered, her breath forming a misty cloud in front of her face as she led the way deeper into the manor. They explored room after room, each one more decrepit than the last. Broken furniture littered the floors, and faded portraits stared down at them from the walls with hollow eyes. Tommy scoffed at the superstitions surrounding the house, dismissing the eerie atmosphere as nothing more than a trick of the mind. But as the night wore on, strange things began to happen. Shadows seemed to move of their own accord, and whispers echoed through the halls when no one was speaking. Sarah felt a sense of unease creeping over her, a feeling that they were not alone in the abandoned manor. Their bravado began to wane as the hours passed, and they huddled together in the dim light of a flickering candle, seeking comfort in each other's presence. But their fear only grew as the supernatural occurrences escalated, culminating in a terrifying encounter in the heart of the manor. It was midnight when they stumbled upon a hidden chamber deep within the bowels of Willow Creek Manor. The room was adorned with strange symbols etched into the walls, and an ominous aura hung heavy in the air. As they cautiously entered the chamber, a sudden gust of wind extinguished their last remaining candle, plunging them into darkness. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she reached out blindly, searching for Tommy's hand in the blackness. But before her fingers could find purchase, she felt something icy cold brush against her skin. A chill ran down her spine as a disembodied voice whispered her name, sending shivers down her spine. In a panic, Sarah groped for the exit, her heart racing as she felt a presence looming over her. Just as she thought she could bear it no longer, a blinding light pierced the darkness, and they stumbled out into the moonlit courtyard, gasping for breath. As they collapsed onto the ground, trembling with fear and exhaustion, Sarah knew they had narrowly escaped the clutches of whatever malevolent force inhabited Willow Creek Manor. And as the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, casting long shadows across the forest floor, they made a solemn vow never to return to that cursed place again. But even now, decades later, Sarah can still feel the icy grip of fear tightening around her heart whenever she thinks back to that fateful night. For some horrors are not so easily forgotten, and the ghosts of Willow Creek Manor still linger in the shadows, waiting to ensnare unwary travelers in their web of darkness. In the years that followed their harrowing night at Willow Creek Manor, Sarah and Tommy tried to put the terrifying ordeal behind them. They went their separate ways, attending college, starting families, and building lives of their own. But no matter how far they traveled or how busy they kept themselves, the memory of that haunted house lingered like a specter in the back of their minds. For Sarah, the experience left a lasting impression, fueling her fascination with the supernatural. She devoured books on ghosts and hauntings, seeking answers to the questions that still haunted her to this day. But try as she might, she could never shake the feeling that there was more to Willow Creek Manor than met the eye. Meanwhile, Tommy tried to bury his memories of that night deep within his subconscious, convincing himself that it was nothing more than a trick of the mind. He threw himself into his work, becoming a successful businessman with little time for frivolous thoughts of ghosts and spirits. But fate has a way of bringing the past back to haunt us when we least expect it. And for Sarah and Tommy, that fateful night at Willow Creek Manor was destined to resurface in the most unexpected of ways. It began with a letter, delivered to Sarah's doorstep on a stormy autumn evening. The envelope was weathered and yellowed with age, the handwriting scrawled in faded ink. With trembling hands, Sarah tore open the seal and unfolded the contents, her breath catching in her throat as she read the words written on the page. Sarah, I hope this letter finds you well. It has been many years since our paths crossed, but I find myself haunted by memories of that night at Willow Creek Manor. I cannot shake the feeling that there is unfinished business between us, something that we left unresolved in our haste to escape the clutches of that cursed place. I know you may think me foolish for dwelling on the past, but I cannot shake the feeling that there is more to the story than we realized. I have spent years researching the history of Willow Creek Manor, delving into its dark past in search of answers. And now, I believe I have found something that may shed light on the mysteries that still linger within those walls. But I cannot face this alone. I need your help, Sarah. I need you to return to Willow Creek Manor with me, to confront the demons that still haunt us and put an end to this nightmare once and for all. Please, meet me at the old oak tree by the entrance to the manor at midnight on the night of the full moon. Together, we can uncover the truth behind the horrors that lie hidden within Willow Creek Manor. Yours in desperation, Tommy. As Sarah finished reading the letter, her heart began to race with a mixture of fear and excitement. Could it be possible that there was more to their experience at Willow Creek Manor than they had realized? Was it finally time to confront the demons of their past and uncover the truth behind the haunted house that had plagued their nightmares for so many years? With a sense of determination burning in her chest, Sarah knew that she could not ignore Tommy's plea for help. She packed a bag with supplies, including flashlights, a camera, and a journal to document their findings, and set out into the night to meet him at the appointed time and place. The journey to Willow Creek Manor was fraught with peril, the wind howling through the trees as if warning them to turn back. But Sarah pressed on, her footsteps echoing through the silent forest as she made her way to the rendezvous point. As she approached the old oak tree by the entrance to the manor, Sarah's heart skipped a beat at the sight of Tommy standing there, his silhouette illuminated by the pale light of the moon. There was a haunted look in his eyes, a sense of urgency that mirrored her own. Without a word, they exchanged a solemn nod and ventured forth into the depths of Willow Creek Manor once more. The air was thick with anticipation as they explored the abandoned halls, their footsteps echoing through the empty corridors as they searched for answers. It wasn't long before they stumbled upon the hidden chamber where their nightmare had begun all those years ago. The room was unchanged, the symbols etched into the walls still casting eerie shadows in the dim light. But there was something different about it this time, something that sent a shiver down Sarah's spine as she stepped into the center of the room. As she reached out to touch one of the symbols, a sudden gust of wind swept through the chamber, extinguishing their flashlights and plunging them into darkness once more. Sarah's heart raced as she felt a presence looming over her, the hairs on the back of her neck standing on end as she braced herself for whatever horrors awaited them. But instead of the disembodied voices and chilling whispers they had encountered before, there was only silence. And in that silence, Sarah felt a sense of peace wash over her, a feeling of acceptance that she had never experienced before. It was then that she realized the truth behind the haunting of Willow Creek Manor. The spirits that roamed its halls were not malevolent entities seeking to do them harm, but lost souls trapped in limbo, searching for a way to move on to the next life. With a newfound sense of clarity, Sarah reached out into the darkness, her hand finding Tommy's in the blackness. Together, they stood in silent communion with the spirits that lingered within the walls of the manor, offering them solace and forgiveness for the pain they had caused. And as the first light of dawn broke through the clouds, casting long shadows across the forest floor, Sarah and Tommy knew that they had finally laid the ghosts of Willow Creek Manor to rest. For sometimes, the scariest stories are not the ones that lurk in the shadows, but the ones that dwell within our own hearts and minds. As the first light of dawn broke through the clouds, casting long shadows across the forest floor, Sarah and Tommy emerged from Willow Creek Manor, their hearts lighter than they had been in years. The weight of the past seemed to lift from their shoulders as they made their way back to civilization, the echoes of their encounter with the supernatural fading into memory. But even as they left the haunted house behind, a sense of unease lingered in the back of their minds. For while they had found closure in their journey to Willow Creek Manor, they could not shake the feeling that their ordeal was far from over. In the weeks that followed, Sarah and Tommy tried to return to their normal lives, but the memory of their encounter with the supernatural continued to haunt them. Strange occurrences seemed to follow them wherever they went, from unexplained noises in the dead of night to fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures lurking in the corners of their vision. At first, they tried to dismiss these incidents as figments of their imagination, the lingering effects of their traumatic experience at Willow Creek Manor. But as the sightings became more frequent and the disturbances more intense, they could no longer ignore the fact that something sinister was at play. Desperate for answers, Sarah delved deeper into the history of Willow Creek Manor, scouring old newspaper clippings and dusty archives for any clue that might shed light on the mysteries that still surrounded the haunted house. And what she uncovered sent chills down her spine. It seemed that Willow Creek Manor had a dark and troubled past, dating back to its construction in the early 19th century. Rumors of witchcraft and black magic surrounded the estate, and tales of mysterious disappearances and unexplained deaths were whispered among the townsfolk. But the most chilling revelation of all was the story of a young girl named Emily, who had vanished without a trace on the night of her 10th birthday. According to legend, Emily had been lured into the depths of Willow Creek Manor by a malevolent force, never to be seen again. As Sarah read through the accounts of Emily's disappearance, a sense of dread washed over her. Could it be possible that the spirits they had encountered at the manor were not the restless souls of the deceased, but something far more sinister? And if so, what did they want with her and Tommy? Determined to uncover the truth, Sarah enlisted Tommy's help once more, and together they returned to Willow Creek Manor in search of answers. But as they ventured deeper into the abandoned halls, they soon realized that they were not alone. Shadowy figures lurked in the darkness, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light as they watched Sarah and Tommy's every move. The air grew thick with tension as the spirits closed in around them, their presence suffocating and oppressive. With nowhere left to run, Sarah and Tommy found themselves trapped in the heart of Willow Creek Manor, surrounded by the vengeful spirits of the past. But instead of giving in to fear, they stood their ground, facing their tormentors with courage and determination. It was then that Sarah remembered the ancient symbols etched into the walls of the hidden chamber, symbols that had seemed meaningless at the time but now held the key to their salvation. With trembling hands, she began to trace the intricate patterns, channeling the power of the spirits in a desperate bid to banish them from the manor once and for all. As she spoke the words of an ancient incantation, a blinding light filled the chamber, illuminating the darkness with a brilliance that seemed to pierce the very fabric of reality. And in that moment, the spirits were cast out, their anguished cries echoing through the halls as they were banished to the realm from whence they came. With the curse lifted and the spirits vanquished, Sarah and Tommy emerged from Willow Creek Manor once more, their hearts heavy with the weight of their ordeal. But as they looked out upon the dawnlit forest, they knew that they had finally found peace. For sometimes, the scariest stories are not the ones that lurk in the shadows, but the ones that we carry with us in our hearts. And though the memories of their encounter with the supernatural would linger for years to come, Sarah and Tommy knew that they had faced their fears and emerged stronger for it. As Sarah and Tommy emerged from the depths of the temple, they felt a sense of relief wash over them. The air outside felt crisp and refreshing, a stark contrast to the suffocating darkness they had just escaped. But their sense of relief was short-lived, as they soon realized that they were not alone. Standing before them, bathed in the glow of the rising sun, was a figure unlike any they had ever seen before. It was tall and imposing, its features obscured by a cloak of shadows that seemed to shift and writhe like living tendrils. As Sarah and Tommy watched in stunned silence, the figure spoke in a voice that echoed through the jungle like thunder. "You have awakened the power that lies within this temple," it said, its words carrying a weight of ancient wisdom and infinite sorrow. "But with great power comes great responsibility," the figure continued, its eyes burning with an intensity that seemed to pierce the very depths of their souls. "You must tread carefully, for the forces you have unleashed are beyond your comprehension." With that, the figure vanished into thin air, leaving Sarah and Tommy standing alone in the jungle, their minds reeling with the implications of what they had just witnessed. For they knew that their journey was far from over, and that the true challenge lay ahead, in facing the darkness that lurked within themselves. With a sense of determination burning in their hearts, Sarah and Tommy set out once more into the unknown, ready to confront whatever dangers lay in their path. For they knew that they had a duty to protect the world from the darkness that threatened to consume it, no matter the cost. And as they disappeared into the depths of the jungle, Their silhouettes fading into the mist like ghosts in the night, they knew that their adventures were far from over. For the world was a vast and mysterious place, filled with wonders and terrors beyond imagining. And it was up to them to uncover the truth behind the mysteries that still lurked in the darkness, no matter where their adventures might take them.